Hi, and welcome to this video on how to manage earnest money deposit checks. And this is the scenario where a buyer is giving a check directly to the brokerage instead of through a title company. So today we'll be going over that process from beginning to end. So there's a couple of things that you're going to want to do before you get started. First, we want to go to our setup and then go to advanced and then go to bank accounts. So within our bank accounts, in this scenario that we've seen, people have a separate deposit trust account that this check they receive from a buyer will go into. And it won't go into the commission trust account, but rather the deposit trust account. So you want to make sure that you have that bank account ready to go in your bank setup. The other thing you're going to want to do is go to advanced and then go to accounts, and you're going to want to create a reconciliation clearing account. Now, in my system, we've created this as a 1240 receivable. So we've went in, we did a reconciliation clearing account. It's an asset, current asset, accounts receivable. And this is what will allow us to have our accounting numbers match up in the end while doing this process through Account Fusion. So you're going to want to go ahead and create that account if it's not there by clicking Add New Account. And there's other videos that go over and as well as the manual, I go over how to create accounts within Account Fusion. Alright, so first things first, we receive the money from the buyer. So let's say we received a $500 check. This is a very small transaction, very cheap sell. But let's just go ahead and say we received a $500 check from Jim Smith, for example. And this is the deposit that he's putting down for this transaction. So what we want to do is go to accounts receivable and go to payments, and we're going to click add payment. Now we're going to go and add. We found Jim Smith. If the customer or the buyer has not been in a transaction or anything in Account Fusion before, you're going to want to go to the customer section and add him in that customer section of accounts receivable, and the manual goes over to how to add that, but you'll want to do that before we get going here, so you can select them under customer. So now that we've done that, you're going to want to hit on the bank account. We've selected Jim Smith. You're going to want to select the deposit trust account, okay? And now we're going to do get invoices. Well, we don't have any invoices yet because, well, there's nothing that's come from Realty APX because the transaction hasn't closed yet. Well, we want to go ahead and enter the $500 anyways. So we're going to enter in that $500 check we received from Jim Smith and click Save. So now we have an unapplied payment that later we're going to want to apply to an invoice. But for now, that's the first step that you'll want to do. The other important thing you'll want to make sure you do within this process is refer to our accounting manual. We have a step-by-step list of everything we're going over today. So make sure to reference that if you have more questions. Alright, so the next step is maybe the transaction's closed now a week later. And so we have our Love Shack building here that we want to go ahead and push to accounting. It's sold and completed. Jim Smith's the buyer, but we want to just go ahead and push that over. So now that's been sold and completed, we'll click on this top three ellipsis and click Submit to Accounting. And that has now been submitted to our accounting system. And we'll notice we've got that gross commission now of $2,400 coming in. And then we're also paying out that check of $1,680. So now let's go ahead and hop back into Account Fusion. We'll refresh the page. And we'll go to transactions. Oh, there it is, the Love Shack. So this is the transaction that earnest money deposit relates to. So now the question is, how do we navigate that whole process, because we have an unapplied payment to this point that will take away from the $2,400 check that we're receiving from the title company. So this is the next step. We're going to want to make a credit for the EMD deposit on the title company that will use our reconciliation clearing account. So let's just double check real quick who our title company is. So it's Jim Hall's. So now we're going to want to go to accounts receivable, click on invoices, then click add credit. And we're going to want to find Jim Halls in here. And then if you'd like, you can go ahead and put the transaction in there as well. But then we'll go ahead and enter in the description. So maybe that will be credit due to buyer EMD. We'll do quantity of 1, the same price of $500. And then you'll want to go and find the 1240 reconciliation clearing account. And that's so that our revenue and expense statements are not affected by this accounting practice that we're doing and method to make it work. So just make sure you select that 1240 reconciliation clearing account, and that is not in a revenue or an expense number. And then when we're done, we're going to click Save. Alright, so the next step, now that we know the transaction's been pushed over and everything is good, we're not going to be returning that $5,000. If that was the case, by the way, you can just go in and delete that payment amount that you initially did. But we know that that's come through. So we're going to want to go in and create an invoice for the buyer with that 1240 reconciliation clearing account so we can apply the payment. So what we'll want to do is select our customer of Jim Smith, who is the buyer, and we're going to do EMD amount, or whatever the description you may want to do, the price of the 500, and make sure that the account is that, once again, that 1240 reconciliation clearing account. And then we're going to click Save. Alright, so now we'll want to make sure to apply that payment that we still have. So here's Jim Smith. We're going to hit Apply. And now we have that invoice that popped in of $500. So now we can apply that and click Paid, and then click Save. So now everything related to that $500 is good to go, except for the fact that it is still in our deposit trust account. Now this scenario that we're doing currently, a lot of people will transfer that money now to their commission trust account, where they're able to pay out their agent's checks, right? Because it's as if the title company had paid them that full amount, just they got it from a different person. So what we want to do in that scenario now is go to Advanced and go to Journal Entries. And we're going to make a manual journal entry to transfer the money from the deposit account, our deposit bank account, to our commission trust account. So to do this, you'll want to find both accounts. So we have our Earnest Money Deposit Trust account and our commission trust account. So we'll want to enter in the $500 in both of these. And we're putting the money into the commission trust account, and it's going away from our Earnest Money Deposit Trust account. So we're going to want to credit that. And you'll want to do the entry source, and then maybe a description, EMD transfer to commission trust account. And then click Save. Oh, I forgot to choose our company. Then click Save. So, what did that do? Now our Earnest Money Deposit bank account is empty, and that money has been transferred to our commission trust account. So this will allow our bank recs and our bank account numbers to be all correct within our reporting. So we're going to now go back to the transaction screen. Alright, so now the next process is to do everything that we would do in a normal transaction. So now we've received the title company check, let's say, and we've got that in. And instead of the $2,400, because the buyer had given us the $500, we're really only receiving $1,900. So you'll want to go ahead and click Paid, and then also apply the credit at this time. And now we'll be able to go through with this. So this will be going into our commission trust account. The payment type, whatever, if you received a check or wire transfer, whatever that may be. And then you'll want to click Save. So now that we've applied that credit, we have that payment of $1,900 from the title company. If we go back here, we'll see that this is now View, and we can go and view that. Or if you messed up on that, you can once again delete that payment and redo that process. We're going to want to go through here real quick and pay out our checks to our agents, just like we would in a normal transaction. We're going to go in here, we're going to pay out his check, maybe make it an e-check, and that's coming out of our commission trust account, and then we'll click save. So now that we've done that, we'll notice that everything is good to go, and it's available to transfer to our operating account. Now, once again, this is a typical process. If your process is different, you can ask customer support or consult a CPA for more additional information. But this is going from a earnest money deposit trust account to our commission trust account, which is our main account we're using to receive payments and pay out. And after all this is done, we want to transfer this amount to our operating account, which is our company's account, where we may do other things besides our commissions and things that relate to a transaction. So at this point, we would click apply transfer, and we would be able to apply that amount to the operating account in a seamless process. And today we've gone through that process of managing your earnest money deposit in the scenario where a buyer is paying the check directly to the brokerage instead of through the title company. This is a detailed explanation within our accounting manual, and once again, I recommend that you use this manual while following along with this video, or if you have remaining questions. And if you have other questions after doing those things, feel free to contact our customer support. Thank you.